Welcome to China, welcome to Zhengzhou, one of the birthplaces of Chinese civilization and, for 1,000 years, the capital of this vast country. Today, Zhengzhou is a modern metropolis of 10 million people and also the host of one of the country's biggest air shows. Well, let's have a look at the running order, and immediately you'll see just how international this lineup is. The Yakvolevs from the UK, the Pioneer team from Italy, Anbo of Lithuania, and Jason Newburgh from the United States. And in just under half an hour, we move on to the night air show featuring two more British teams, Aerosparx and the Global Stars. Over 5 days, 300,000 spectators flocked to Zhengzhou Airport. And let's get straight into the action now with Mark Jeffries and his Extra 330 SC solo display. Mark Jeffries is the 10-time British national aerobatic champion. He's also the leader of the Global Stars and displays a variety of aircraft at air shows around the world. Mark also owns a little Gransden airfield in the UK, which hosts an annual air and car show every August. The aircraft is an Extra 330 SC, part of the enormously successful Extra 300 family of aerobatic aircraft. Powered by a Lycoming IO 580, producing 320 horsepower, it can fly at up to 418 kilometers per hour in a dive, roll at 420 degrees per second, and pull up to plus 10 or minus 10 G. This family of aircraft can be seen all over the world at aerobatic competitions and in the hands of military and civilian aerobatic teams, among them the Blades of the UK, the Royal Jordanian Falcons, the Hawks of Romania, the Chilean Halcons, Crisacti of Malaysia and the French Air Force Équipe de Voltige. Now the largest team at the show, the Yakvolevs. It's quite rare to see a full six-ship Yakvolevs display. In fact, they've only flown it at one show previously, which was the Zhengzhou Airshow 2017. More usually they break the fleet down into smaller groups and fly four-ship displays. This display team dates back 18 years, and in that time they've displayed in 4 continents and estimate to have entertained 2 billion spectators.
Full burst, full burst. Go!
That's not bad.
The orange coat now. Full.
Another UK team now in the form of the Aerosparx display team, flying a pair of Grob 109Bs.
Approved, port ready.
The Grob 109 is a German-designed motor glider, the idea being it's a glider with a small engine to allow it to self-launch, but it doesn't have to be used as a glider. It's often used as a conventional aircraft, and its very efficient 95 horsepower engine makes it a relatively affordable general aviation aircraft for private pilots. The Grob 109 also saw military service, flying for the Royal Air Force Central Gliding School, where it was called the Vigilant T1. The Vigilant was retired from RAF service just a few weeks after the Zhengzhou Airshow because of problems with the fleet's airworthiness certifications.
It's ready.
There's two types of smoke that you can see on the aeroplane. The white smoke emitting from the centre of the aircraft is produced by injecting environmentally friendly oil into the hot engine exhaust. The red smoke comes from canisters on the wingtips. It's essentially a kind of firework where the burning of a mixture of compounds produces a trail of coloured particles behind the aircraft.
Rolling in 5.
Flying in the lead is Rob Barsby, a gliding instructor at Husbands Bosworth Airfield, where the team are based. The number 2 pilot is team leader Guy Westgate, an extremely accomplished display pilot and the 8-time British glider aerobatic champion. The Pioneer team now flying the Alpi Pioneer 330. The team were only formed in 2005, but already they've displayed in over 20 countries across Europe, Africa and Asia, which could make them the most travelled civilian aerobatic team in the world. In the early years, the team were actually trained by former members of the Frecce Tricolori, Italy's national aerobatic team, who fly 10 Air Macchi MB339s. These tiny aeroplanes produce 100 horsepower and they can fly at 240 kilometers per hour. It's got fuel injection, allowing the aircraft to fly inverted. It can pull up to 6G, and all that is very impressive for what is technically an ultralight. The unmistakable rumble of the Yak-50 returns, this time 3 of them in the hands of the Anbo aerobatic team of Lithuania. Ronaldas Paksas leads the team. He was the Prime Minister of Lithuania twice, from 1999 to 2001, before becoming President of Lithuania in 2003, although he was impeached the following year. One stunt the team are particularly famous for is flying in formation under the old Zhengzhou Bridge in the south of Lithuania, and they've done that on a number of occasions. And this is one of the more unique manoeuvres of their show. All 3 aircraft pull up into the vertical for a very photogenic break before pulling straight into a tail chase. Back to Mark Jeffries. This time he's flying as part of the Global Stars aerobatic team. Flying the extra 330 SC at the front of the formation is Chris Heems, a former fighter pilot and very experienced display pilot. UK airshow fans may know Chris from the classic jet circuit. He led Team Viper and flies with the NAT display team as well as performing solo displays. The other 3 aircraft are extra 300Ls, one flown by Mark Jeffries, the others by Steve Carver and Chris Burkett. Chris is an experienced aerobatic pilot who flies with the Twister aerobatic team, and also leads what he calls the Little and Large Extra Duo, which sees him flying a coordinated display involving a full-size Extra 300 and one remote control model Extra. The unique dotty smoke system is controlled by Wi-Fi to make sure the smoke blips are synchronized between all 4 aircraft. It's quite an imaginative way to make the smoke trails a little more interesting, while at the same time massively saving on the amount of smoke oil used in the display. The Global Stars have performed all over the world since they were formed in 2011, predominantly in Europe and Asia. In 2015, Mark and Tom Cassels displayed in Australia as part of a spin-off 2-ship team, the Awesome Global Stars. Now into a series of dynamic opposition passes. The Extra 300L isn't quite so advanced as the 330SC that leads the team. It rolls at 400 degrees per second, down from 420, and produces 300 horsepower to the 320 horsepower produced by the Extra 330SC. But it does have 2 seats, and to this day, the 300L is the best-selling aircraft in the Extra 300 family. This manoeuvre is one of the Global Star's specialities. It's probably my favourite manoeuvre of the show. It's called the Looping 270, and it sees the formation loop directly before pulling into a 270-degree flat turn, which takes them right past the crowd. And a double heart to end the display. Two Boeing Stearmans now commence their display in a rather unconventional white paint scheme. These are the Aero Superbatics wing walkers, and the reason for that paint scheme is that the team's Breitling sponsorship had come to an end at the end of 2017, so these two planes were in a temporary scheme ahead of being repainted. The team are based at Rencum near Cirencester, where you can pay for a wing-walking experience flight. They also perform at air shows all over the world. They've displayed across Europe, the Middle East, China and Australia, as well as most major UK air shows.
Stars taxi 28, QFE down 998, service with car.
Well, that draws to a close the daytime segment of the air display, and things are only going to get more spectacular as night approaches. First, though, it's over to some of the local flyers to fill the sky for a while. These paramotors come from the Aerosports Federation of China. And let's take a look at the schedule for the night show. The American Jason Newburgh gets the action underway in his Pitts S2S, followed by the Pioneer team and the Global Stars. Aerosparx close the show in just over 10 minutes. And now would be an ideal time to remember one pilot who should have been taking to the skies, but sadly is no longer with us. US aerobatic pilot and musician Elgin Wells sadly perished in his one-of-a-kind Starjammer aircraft during the practice days. We present this programme as a tribute to him. The Sunwood aerobatic team perform a fly past, the first civilian aerobatic team in China. And now back to the action with Jason Newburgh's Pitts S2S Viper. It's somewhere in the middle of that smoke cloud, and now rolling for takeoff. Jason Newburgh flew solo for the first time, aged 16, and earned his pilot license 1 year later. The Texan mostly flies at air shows in the USA, where he was the Lone Star Unlimited Aerobatic Champion in 2012. He also has participated in the Reno Air Races. This highly customised Pitts S2S can roll at 420 degrees per second and can pull up to +10 and -9 G. Its 400 horsepower engine enables the aircraft to reach over 480 kilometers per hour in level flight. And you can hear the scream of that engine now. It was by some margin the loudest aircraft at the show. As Jason comes into land, we can see the other aircraft taxiing out. Aerosparx lead the Pioneer team onto the runway. And the reason Aerosparx are taking off so early is because of their very limited power. They start their display at over 3,000 feet and then use the potential energy of the aeroplanes to slowly descend as the display progresses. But in hot weather, it can take a good 20 minutes to climb that high. Pioneer team now rolling, keeping it nice and low on departure. And the 4 aircraft with the Global Stars starting up as well. The Pioneer team now start their routine. It's a shorter show than they fly during the day, but nonetheless a very attractive one. Waterfall pyro on the wingtips. These work in a similar way to the wingtip smoke I described earlier, slowly burning and releasing a trail of sparks. And now the Global Stars approach show centre to open their show. At the time of recording, the Global Stars were the only 4-ship, fully aerobatic team in the world to fly air shows with pyrotechnics on the aircraft, although in November 2018 the South African quartet Team Extreme flew a similar display in Wuhan, China, with their 4 Extreme Air XA-42s. The Global Stars are relatively new to this type of flying, but they are doing it an increasing amount, and Mark Jeffries has also developed what he calls the pyro pylon run, where the aircraft slalom between columns of Roman candles, which is very impressive. The Global Stars run in now to end their display with a spectacular break. And finally, here come Aerosparx. This graceful kind of display is really best enjoyed without my voice being all over the top of it, so I'll stop talking and let you enjoy it. The pyrotechnic effects and LEDs are controlled by a very sophisticated computer system. This system allows the pilot to select a particular pyro sequence and fire it electronically from the cockpit. The pyrotechnic effects themselves are installed on the wingtips, wheel spats, and along the trailing edge of the wing. Technically, what you are watching is the first ever night air display in China. The other teams at Zhengzhou didn't perform at night, but during civil twilight, which EASA define as being up to sunset plus 30 minutes. Aerosparx are actually one of only 2 aerobatic teams in the world to fly formation aerobatics with pyrotechnics at night. Well, that brings us to the end of our coverage of the Zhengzhou Airshow 2018. Once again, this event has brought many of the best display pilots in the world to central China, with the aim of promoting general aviation to one of its fastest growing markets. If you want to see more feature-length video reports such as this one, please visit our website, thisisflight.net. But in the meantime, from this metropolis on the Yellow River, from me, Adam Landau, it's goodbye for now.